Hi, everybody. This um, Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room, and he was taken to the arms room, and they took his life. Why did they do that? Because this was in July of 2020. They couldn't stop him. They just couldn't stop. They could not compromise him. That's what I'm talking about. They tried. They tried. Why were they trying to compromise him? Because he was a whistleblower. He was a whistleblower. He was there in August of 2019. Okay, he was there. He was the whistleblower that was reporting to the Trump administration. Okay, the Trump administration that was absolutely under attack every which way. And that's not me just saying that. That is evidence confirms that President Trump was being attacked by mutiny. You know, it was mutinous. It was people that did not want him to scrutinize the border, to secure the border. And Richard was the whistleblower saying, yes, there's problems at the border. There's criminal trafficking. There's cartel right there on Fort Bliss. There's like a Fast and Furious going on Fort Bliss. There is crimes against children on Fort Bliss. There is a Walmart. Well, you know, he was saying all these things, and the Walmart mass shooting was a diversion. It was because Richard was um, the whistleblower, and President Trump was absolutely with his administration looking into the border activity, which includes this funeral fraud, human organ trafficking, children trafficking, luring women to the worst type of situations. They call it, you know, crisis pregnancy help, but it's really a scam and a fraud um, to lead them to a diabla, to, you know, 17-year-olds, 16-year-olds performing C-sections. Um, yeah. Yeah, it's just you know, that's the hardest part is talking about all of this after you know, researching it, investigating it, putting together um, all of the pictures and posting it. So it's pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly. But I want to tell you that we're getting a lot of help. Joshua Lopez, I'm not putting out false information. We have documented it all. We have put out the hard evidence, the letters. Um, Absolutely spent years investigating the Walmart mass shooting along with our son's investigation. And I can tell you this, there were multiple shooters, and the crime scene was not secured for over 2 days, over 48 hours. And we have videos that show a totally different narrative than what happened. And then we also know that the chief medical examiner, who is in this country legally, holding that position without qualifications for that position, getting paid about $500,000 a year, is cartel. He's cartel, and he is absolutely connected to uh, those that had Richard's credit card and other important information, financial information. He's connected to uh, uh, individuals absolutely connected to the Walmart mass shooting. And, you just can't make this stuff up, because where is the alternative narrative? The alternative narrative that they gave us at the very beginning is garbage. It's absolutely garbage, because the evidence does not corroborate that at all. And we've pieced it together. I can tell you this, that Patrick Cruces didn't even know that he posted on 8chan. He kept saying 4chan. I know that he didn't know how to tie his shoe when he was 18. I know that he didn't know how to speak until he was about 6 years old. I know that his Joe Spencer admitted to all this because we have the audios. We have the audios of Joe Spencer, his lawyer, saying it, that Patrick Cruces has severe mental health condition and autism, and that he surrendered twice, that he only admitted to killing 1 or 2 people. That means there's multiple shooters. That's what that means. And that he was not a white supremacist, that he, and the other thing is, his family's right there in the courthouse, in the federal courthouse. His family's right there in El Paso. His family is right there in the DA's office with Jaime Esparza, with James Bonneau Montoya. And Bill Hicks, is the in-house lawyer for Perches Funeral Homes. Bill Hicks, the funeral homes that have a big part in the Walmart mass shooting, a big part in handling the remains of those that were killed in the Walmart mass shooting, or in however, we don't know how everyone died and everything, because there's so much tampering, and uh, the scene was not secured for almost 2 days. A lot can happen for more than 2 days. A lot can happen in 2 days. You can bring bodies in. Could they do it? Oh, yeah. Did they have the hearse to do it? Oh, yeah. Did they have the white vans to do it? Oh, yeah. Did they have uh, uh, the badges to throw around, or you know, oh, I'm Purchase Funeral Homes. I'm going to come in and get the body, or maybe the ambulance, or however that works. But could they bring people in? Could they? Yes, because the whole thing was tampered with, and we know that they were walking the scene without even reporting it. They were taking pictures without even submitting the pictures to the file. I mean, we know that that this all was botched, that it was all botched and on purpose botched, because they didn't mention the Mayellas. That would break the case wide open right there. And that Bill Hicks didn't recuse himself from having any part in the Walmart mass shooting, because he was the witness's in-house lawyer. He had access to all that paperwork of all the bodies that Purchase handled. He could not. I mean, it's so criminal that he's, accepting this appointment to be the DA and not recusing himself in the Walmart mass shooting. And that's why he did nothing, because he knew if he did something and that this all came out like it is, the law's going to end his career, but the law's also going to put him in prison, and maybe on death row, because of what's going on in the Perches case, what's going on in the Plenitude Crematorium case, what's going on in the Rosemarie Ariano, Caron Rivera case. She has many more names, many more names. And it's very clear that they felt like they were above the law, that they could even use a plane to kidnap. Look, the court case clearly states what the son of El Chapo said, that he kidnapped El Mayo, that he drugged El Mayo, that he put him on a private plane, that private plane was flown by an individual that didn't even have a pilot's license. This is the information that we know, that they came in at Santa Teresa Jetport, that they were playing FBI. They were playing FBI with a private plane, kidnapping someone, drugging someone. Now, of course, El Mayo is a billionaire. Of course, he has a long record, right? He has a long record. But these people felt like they could absolutely drug and kidnap a person, and Richard's body was stolen. Richard was retaliated against because of what he knew about the Walmart mass shooting, because of what he knew before the Walmart mass shooting. Richard was distinguished honor graduate, high marks. At 15, he clipped out of 6 college credits of college math and 6 college credits of college German. He absolutely, so 12 college credits in one day he clipped out of. At the age of 15. So, he had it together. He had it together, and he could not be compromised. And they tormented him, and they retaliated against him. And then they forcibly removed him. Just days after Ray Velarde signed off on him. Just days after. They forcibly removed him, and they took his life, and they stole his body. And who knows if they drugged him. We've heard stories like that. And now we have the whole El Chapo's plea deal that corroborates that they are stealing people, kidnapping them, drugging them, using private planes and shoving them on there, forcibly removing them and putting them on a plane, and then flying them to Santa Teresa Jetport of International Jetport. And you look, they did that to Richard. And El Chapo, now, they didn't dare, I guess, because El Mayo is El Chapo's son's godfather. Maybe that's why he didn't dare take his life. I don't know. But what he did do is he just undid and is bringing down the Woody Hunt. The Paul Foster, the Alejandra de la Vega, the Rick Francis. Um, absolutely. That's what just happened. El Chapo with his plea deal did not betray El Mayo. He betrayed the El Paso cartel, the El Paso Mormon faction cartel, because that's what the cartel is. There is the Mormon faction. And Josh was says it's all speculation. No, it's not speculation. We have 5.5 years, day in and day out, of doing this with hard evidence, a robust mountain of evidence, a robust mountain of evidence, and every day it's more. And this plea deal is part of that evidence. The plane is part of that evidence. The ownership of the plane is part of that evidence. The individual that flew that plane without a license is part of the evidence. Don't forget that Dallas Hart was learning how to fly a plane. Um, Nadal Baim is evidence. Bradford Bugado is evidence. Josh Lyons is evidence. Um, Danae Katzen is evidence. Her husband, Jonathan Ambrose, and I wanted to post and talk about this tomorrow because I really want to talk about Bill Hicks today, because Bill Hicks was, just no good, in trouble, in debt, couldn't pay his bills. He had all kinds of dirty laundry. And then, all of a sudden he's helping this funeral home fraud business, and he's getting $7,000 of campaign money from Purchase, which he absolutely, that's so illegal, because Purchase was the witness in the Walmart case. They handled uh, the victims' bodies. You can't be the DA prosecuting that and taking money from Purchase Funeral Homes, right? So you got your, gosh. Um, well, some people are just minions. Well, uh, we, I hate to be, we put things out, we double check. Um, her name is all over it. The phone numbers are all over it. The emails are all over it. It's her, y'all. This scheme, Bill Hicks was the in-house lawyer for Purchase, the witnesses in the Walmart mass shooting that Richard was a whistleblower for, right? And more, and more. And he's a total hero. He's a total hero. Um, I'm so proud to be his mother, because this Plenitude crematorium, people didn't make up these dead corpses piled up like cordwood. They didn't make that up. They wanted, remember, it's only 6 bodies. Really? It's only 6 bodies. Oh, wow. Only 6. Can you imagine 6 bodies? 6 bodies just rotting away in someone's house? No, they were like, it's only 6. That's because earlier they were caught with 63 bodies. And they were working without a license because nobody dared do anything to them, because this was the Pan Party. This was Galvan. This was Campos. This was Governor Maru. This was um, Manuel Carlos Manuel Salas. This was Beto O'Rourke. Look, you've got La Diabla, the uh, the C-section lady targeting young girls. Um, and I know it's hard to hear that there would be referrals given to this crisis pregnancy that would refer them to someone like La Diabla, right? Or this crisis pregnancy home, and then the crisis pregnancy home to La Diabla, whose family was working for Beto O'Rourke. And how is this connected that the family that owns Plenitude Crematorium, that is totally connected to Perches Funeral Homes, was living right next door to Beto O'Rourke? Has a house right next door to Beto O'Rourke. I mean, like, let's open the window and say, "Hi, good morning. You want to meet out in the lawn for a cup of coffee?" I mean, right next door. It's um, and then you have the person they live next to is Beto O'Rourke, that writes poetry that is so despicable about children, causing great harm to children, and that they're connected to Leilani Hart, that they're connected to um, Dreams Cabaret, where Leilani Hart was getting her mail, and Leilani Hart, in a confession, confessed, in a notarized confession, confessed to the worst type of crimes against children, uh, confessed to her own immigration problems, confessed to facilitating crimes against children, confessed to not reporting for decades crimes against children, not reporting the very, very worst type of crime against a 7-year-old in her master bedroom by multiple individuals of her family, multiple of her household, let's say of her household. Uh, you know, uh, and these are all connected. This is connected to Woody Hunt's faction. This is connected to Paul Foster's faction. Paul Foster and Rafael Ariano Caron are connected. So, Rosa Maria Perches, Ariano Caron, Rivera, Ramirez, Camby, what else? There's other names there too. Um, Her name, she is all over these crisis pregnancies, these migrant shelters, these shelters for uh, women that are in crisis because of situations that they're in, and even mothers that are in crisis for situations that they're in. And they had Beto O'Rourke as representative, and Veronica Escobar, and others that are compromised and you can look it up, to create, and Ricardo Samaniego, to create um, the money flow from the taxpayers for humanitarian. Yeah, that's why you had Sanchez, right? Jose Sanchez, um, the director of DPS taking rides, and this woman that had a fleet of cars, a fleet, because they're so concerned about the indigent. They're so concerned about the indigent that you have La Diabla, whose family is working for Beto O'Rourke, was working for Beto O'Rourke, um, you know, um, cutting out babies, cutting out organs out. Oh, but they care so much about the indigent. And this happens because of referrals. You have to have referrals to give legitimacy to these groups. And another thing that they do that is absolutely, I feel like, is so criminal, so criminal. They take God's name in vain. They do it, um, which is, it's so criminal. They call themselves Christian when they're targeting women. And it really harms the true Christians. And, can you imagine you're a young girl, and you make stupid mistakes, and uh maybe you're in the military, maybe you're in the co-ed barracks. Who ever thought that that was a good idea to have co-ed barracks? It must be someone that is connected to this kind of fraud scheme, right? Who wants crisis pregnancies, right? I, I'm just thinking out loud real quick here. But let's say you're a female, and you make a dumb mistake or whatever, and because it is women, females that can get pregnant, okay? Not males, females. And so all this nonsense about being a man and being able, and all, that's all nonsense. It's insanity. Absolutely insanity. It is the brainwashing, making people's eyes go squiggly here and there, making their brains go chaotic so that they don't even think right, that they think upside down and sideways, inside out, in every which way but the truth. And the truth is, it's the women that were targeted. And let's say you're a young woman, and you're in a crisis pregnancy now. And you might think, well, what an idiot I am to get in this situation, but I got in this situation. But I want my child to have a good home. I want my child to have a good home. And so you go and you look in the internet, and you go to, um, you know, Fight for Life, or The Right to Life, or Christian crisis pregnancy, Christian adoptions, because that's where you want to go, because that's where you think you can give your child a nice life. And then they lead you to Rosa Maria Ariano, Rosa Maria Perches Ariano, the owner of Plenitude Crematorium, where rotting bodies, not one, not two, not six, not 100, over 400, and even partial remains are there. I've been hearing that dog tags are there from the military. I've heard uniforms. I've heard wedding dress. I mean, who are they targeting? I mean, this is a narco, right? This is a narco crematorium. And we know through all of our investigations, hard evidence that the Pan Party, the Sinaloa, the Chapitos faction of the Sinaloa Party um, is totally connected to this. So, and a crisis pregnancy woman that is targeted and then given a referral to go to a place that is just interested in collecting some kind of humanitarian, to be deceptive so that they can fraudulently collect on humanitarian aid and lead you to the likes of Martha Aguilar, Mendez, the Diabla, where you're going to meet God very quickly, because that's what they do. You can't survive someone taking your liver. You can't survive someone taking your 2 kidneys, ripping your baby out. You're left as a shell. And this is personal to us because our evidence points to that Richard's remains ended up there at Plenitude through this pipeline. And we were told in October of 2020, when we had hard evidence because of Nadal Baim, because of others, because of DHS, because of what is it? Secretary of State. Yeah, Secretary of State's office. Um, and more evidence that Richard's body was taken over there. And people were saying, oh no, they could never take a body over the border. They could never take a body. And these people that told us this, now we know were infiltrators, that they meant us harm. Like even the generals. Like Bill Hicks. Where was Bill Hicks in all of this? Why aren't they prosecuting the Mayellas, bringing them in for question? They're right there in the federal courthouse, or right there in the DA's office, or right there in the Walmart cyber section of Walmart. Come on. You've got Jonathan Ambrose, the husband of the woman that is now a fugitive, that we warned the judge that she was a flight risk. And that judge let her do it. Let her do it. She's now a fugitive. Danae Katzen, who had Richard's credit cards, who had Richard's financial information, who is family with Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia, who fraudulently took so much of the Walmart mass shooting victims' funds illegally. She's not qualified. So, you can try to perpetuate this is Advent time. Advent is a time for reflection, epistemological self-consciousness, where you say, oh crap, I screwed up. I'm ruining my country. Like if you're in Mexico, I'm ruining my country. If you're in the United States, I'm ruining my country. I'm ruining my family. I'm ruining my community. If we can't depend on death certificate, because every one of these bodies, every one of these corpses has a tampered death certificate, has tampered paperwork. This is all fraud. And you think that that doesn't matter? I think it matters a lot. There's no country I mean, we're just going to be like Somalia. We'll just be like Somalia and have, absolute chaos. And there won't be a place to go to for a reprieve, to have law and order, to be able to depend on a funeral home. We I mean, in El Paso right now, because of the control of Purchase Funeral Homes, with even like Martin Funeral Homes, with so many other funeral homes, I mean, where do you go to have a trusted funeral and think that you are supporting someone that is ethical? Because right now, Purchase is not ethical. Salvador Purchase Jr. is not ethical. So where do you go? I mean, they're handing urns full of cement dust to people, of pulverized animal bones to people. They're targeting women and leaving them to be shells to be dumped at this place. And don't think that that Fort Bliss is not involved. Fort Bliss gives referrals because we have some stupid person that's thought it was a good idea to have co-ed barracks, that to leave our women soldiers unprotected. Just ask Asia Graham and so many more. And they really target soldiers because there's a lot of money there, because soldiers are a government issue. They have big insurance policies. And if you have someone like Richard's platoon leaders, Dallas Hart's father, working in the VA office and IDES Pueblo for the disability benefits, the death benefits, then woohoo, they place these people in there. That's why this is a Woody Hunt thing, because Woody Hunt, he controls like 80% of the housing contracts. He is so steeped in these military installations with his contracts. And of course, giving his plane over to Governor Abbott, saying, "Oh, yeah, use my plane with all the fuel that you want. I'll fly you here, fly you there." No, that is so illegal. And now you have a private plane, the owner is flying a kidnapped, drugged person without extradition, without following the laws, the rules that make a country great, that make it dependable, that make it trustworthy in order to have a good economy. There's no good economy when there's total theft all the time and tampering of documents all the time. And, uh, it's just chaotic. Then you have a Haiti, then you have a Somalia. It has nothing to do with a color of a person's skin. It has to do with the rule of law not being followed. It has to do with tampering. It has to do with the Ten Commandments not being followed. That's for our prosperity. And when you are, a rogue, then you're just creating hell on earth. When you are a Mormon faction cartel greedy bastard, then you're just bringing hell on earth. Good. Good. I would love that. Rose Ariano. I would love that. I would love to do an exploratory court case. Yes. Let's see what was going on there because you've already been raided. They've already been raided. What happened to our son? Were parts of our son put on a plane? Were parts of our son put at the Plenitude Crematorium? I mean, you have 400 rotting bodies. That's not me making it up. That's not defamation. You have a house that you live in that's registered to Kano Inc., Kano Still. That's not legal. I don't think that's legal. Yes. Let's see if there's any other comments. Look, the thing with all this crime is it's it's all exploitation of the taxpayers, of people that have small business. I have not forgotten 2020, 2021, where they destroyed small business owners to let these big fat cats exploit the whole situation, where people stole COVID money left and right, and put it in banks left and right illegally. I haven't forgotten that they, were telling people 6 feet apart, but yet they were bringing in the girls to the barracks to have parties. And even who was it? Ricardo Samaniago, his family home having a big old bash. What 50 people or so during the lockdown when he's telling everyone, stay inside 6 feet apart. But, these are people that believe they're above the law, that the law doesn't apply to them, that they have no accountability to the law, that they can target uh, females that are in crisis pregnancy situations, and that they could set people in certain offices for, to do the referrals. They could set certain people into banks. They could set certain people into the post office and just commit fraud after fraud after fraud, and then say, "Oh, well, now I'm a millionaire. Now I've got millions. Now you have to respect me." No, I don't have to respect you. You're a criminal, a total criminal, targeting the weakest. It's the definition of a coward. And Richard was trying to protect the children, the women. All he told me all the time, it's so bad. It's so bad, Mom. And he was not someone to complain, but we're the ones that first broke Maella's the Crucius family, that was, that they still have not put out in the news because it's so damning. Were the ones I said the moment I saw Patrick Crucius, red flags went up, and I watched and watched, and I said, "Look, this person has autism. I think he has autism." And that's the first time Bob Moore comes on, the only time we're, you know, uh, trying to contact him because he's such a big fat liar and disgrace. And he's just a disgrace. He's just, well, he works for El Paso Matters. He works for El Paso Community Foundation, which is Woody Hunt. And he comes on um, like this and says, Patrick Crucius doesn't have autism. And I'm like, oh, look, he has severe mental health conditions. That's in the court case. That was written by David Guadarrama, right? Judge David Guadarrama, who's also totally a criminal. And then it came out with Joe Spencer probably a year later. Oh, yeah, he has autism. Yes, he has autism. There were multiple shooters. The What Richard was reporting on in the Walmart mass shooting is very clear there, because it's so, once you take a little time and look at the case, you absolutely see that the narrative doesn't fit the truth, the facts, and that there's a lot of scamming going on. And, I love this when people get on here and say things and don't even give the facts. They just say, oh, you got your facts wrong. Well, what are the facts? Give me the facts. Give me the facts. I think I have the facts right. We've had the facts right since the beginning about Richard. I mean, they were so culpable, they couldn't even contact us to let us know what had been done to our son. We contacted them, and still, like in the news, they'll report, oh, it took them 36 days to contact. No, we contacted them. They never contacted us. We contacted them. We went to El Paso, and they absolutely lied to us about who Nadal Baim was. They absolutely lied to us about who Danae Katzen is, that her husband was in 143 ADA, that he was a West Pointer, that he was with DHS, that he was with DHS. He might still even be with DH, but he's a criminal, and I think he's a fugitive right now. But he was with DHS when we got there. Department of Homeland Security. So I guess I'm really over the um, target because of these new people coming in, that is piecing together this funeral, mortuary, organ harvesting, uh, baby stealing. Because, if you steal the baby, right? If you do this C-section and the baby happens to survive, praise God, but you take the organs of the mother is no longer alive. uh, someone has to tamper with all that paperwork for these adoptions, right? And these adoptions, uh, the news reported, this is not me, this is the news reported, that this group targeted the homosexual community with their marketing, with all this tampered records, and a baby that was taken like that. Now, if you're in that homosexual community, I'd be up in arms. I'd be up in arms. Um, where are they? Where is the media reporting on La Diabla and what DNI reported that the news did, had no choice but to report with this organ harvesting? And where did these organs go to? And, and being totally connected to cartel, totally connected to the Mormon faction, totally connected to Del Carmen. It is diabolical. We're supposed to bring heaven on earth, not hell on earth. They're bringing hell on earth. And our media, Governor Abbott, the law enforcement, Jose Sanchez, a director, he's too busy with his fiddling, playing around with this woman. And he absolutely knew all of this. He knew what was going on. He's the regional director, the top cop. The top cop. He absolutely knows. And, I just love it. Love it. And I don't love it at all. When people come out, we've been doing this almost 2,000 days in a row, and they get their feathers ruffled when they're exposed through all of this. I didn't expose them. El Chapo's people exposed them. I did not tell El Chapo's son to kidnap and drug El Mayo, put him on a plane from somewhere and fly him into Santa Teresa to have that all in the paper. And I didn't tell Ray Velarde to, a billionaire's lawyer to say, oh, yeah, I'll take this little job representing Richard Halliday. That was counterintelligence. I didn't tell him to do counterintelligence on my son to see what he knew about the Walmart mass shooting, what he knew about the worst type of crimes against children being committed, that he had to call CPS multiple times, that he was in communication with FBI Houston because FBI Houston is all about child trafficking, that he couldn't trust El Paso FBI because Connell Witten was there. Connell Witten, who is absolutely steeped with this same group, with this same Arleano Caron group. You don't think he knows about them? He absolutely knows about them. and Bill Hicks being Purchas's lawyer. I mean, that's not a coincidence. And Montoya being, Bonneau and 2028 stamp, and and they're none of them are installed properly. I mean, the system is broken. I didn't make up that the judges at the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court are not real. They're not real judges. They have no authority. I didn't make that up. That's the Texas Constitution. If you have full county-wide jurisdiction, like the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court since 2015, then you have to be elected. That's the Texas Constitution. That's not me. I'm just telling everyone, hey, those judges are botching every case because they have no authority. They're not elected. Why aren't they elected? For a whole decade, they're not elected? Somebody doesn't want them to be elected. Somebody wants Jose Sanchez, the top cop, to look the other way. Somebody wants two botched prosecutors in a row that did not install properly, couldn't even sign the anti-bribe line on time like they should before they take their oath of office. How hard is that to do? It's not hard to do, but that is a must to do according to the Texas Constitution. And the last time I looked, they were bound to do what the Texas Constitution says. But they're rogues, they're criminals, and they need to be held accountable because they use planes, private planes, for extradition. They take extradition in their own hands. And I'm not defending El Mayo. He's a billionaire. He can defend himself. I'm defending the rule of law, like Richard was doing. Because if you don't have the rule of law, then there's going to be a lot of loss of life, like there is. And it's just going to be chaotic. And we'll just be like a Somalia. We'll be just like a Haiti. And if you don't know, you need to go see it for yourself. But if we do the right thing, it tends to rub off. And they will benefit. If we do well, the United States does well, Haiti does well, Somalia does well. That's just the nature of our huge country, has impact. Ireland does well. Europe will do better. Mexico will do better. But America has to do the right thing. And we are infiltrated, and we have cowards in positions. And if they're not infiltrated, they're cowards. There's so many cowards. And we have a very brave president. A very brave president. And I'm, look, 4 days after he took the oath of office, Richard got in the line of duty determination. That's huge. That takes bravery to do that. And just to make it clear, it was El Chapo's people that broke this. Okay? It was El Chapo. It was El Chapo's uh, this split in the Sinaloa cartel that broke this wide open for us to see what Richard was whistleblowing on and the pipeline of this flesh peddling. I didn't make that up. People in Mexico call the Arianos flesh peddlers. And I think that is appropriate. And they are in El Paso. They cannot be in El Paso. They cannot commit these atrocities against humanity and be in El Paso. So thank you so much. And this whole thing with Rose right here, I'm looking at it. How many times we've been intimidated, how many times they've threatened us, how many times, I mean, for 5.5 years, it's the same playbook. You're exposing me. I don't like you. I mean, really? Why don't you try repentance? Why don't you try getting on your knees and asking God for forgiveness? Why don't you pay for what you did? It's the same playbook. Threaten, 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 threaten. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you for all the sharing. It's just really, things are going viral because the truth goes viral. Has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the truth going viral. From the very beginning, I had no clue that this would end up in organ harvesting. That definitely was not even anticipated, even though I had people say that. But my mind could not even think that people would do this. This is diabolical, and they have to be held accountable. And if they took Richard's organs out, if they harvested his organs, if they, can you imagine a U.S. Army soldier being trafficked internationally? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your support, and we will be back